All right, so if you checked out the video for parts of speech, you will remember this. So this was a pronoun and talked about how it replaces a noun in a sentence. So for example, Mary gets replaced with her, she, or hers. Tom gets replaced by he, him, or his because Tom is male. And then we have children, which would get replaced by they, them, or theirs, which is a group of people. And then we have dog and pencil, so that would be animal and object, and they would be replaced with it and its. All right, so we are going to go into a little more depth on types of pronouns. So one of the types of pronouns that we have is subjective. So a subjective pronoun is going to take the place of the subject. That is our who or our what in the sentence. An objective pronoun is going to take place of the object in the sentence, and it comes after the verb. So an objective pronoun receives the action. And then we have possessive. Possessive pronouns are the ones that show ownership. The last two that we have are reflexive, which refers back to the subject, and intensive, which makes it more obvious who or what the sentence is about. So let's go into a little bit more depth on the first three. Okay. So we have subjective, objective, and possessive. We're going to start with subjective and fill in our chart. Going through with first person for subjective, we have the pronoun I. This is the only one that needs to be capitalized. So remember, anytime in class when you're writing, I always say, don't forget to capitalize the pronoun I. This is the one that I'm talking about, okay? Now, in the second person for subjective, we have you, okay? And then we have third person. Now, we have three different pronouns for third person. We have our male third person pronoun, which we've already discussed is he. We have our female third person pronoun, which would be she. And then we have our third person pronoun for any animal or object, and that would be it. Now, those are all singular. Now, first person plural would be me. Second person plural would still be you. And third person plural would be they. So these were all your subjective pronouns. Now, as we go through the chart, you will notice that a couple of them do go from subjective to objective. So it's very important to be able to identify them in a sentence based on the type of pronoun that it is. So if it's subjective, it is going to replace the subject in the sentence. So your who or your what. Now, objective. Objective pronouns are the ones that receive the action in the sentence, and they come after the verb, okay? So for first person objective, we have me. Second person objective, we have you, as you notice. Subjective and objective for second person is going to be the same pronoun. And now we have third person male. This is where we have him. Third person female, we have her. And then third person for animal or object, we have it. So again, the pronoun has remained consistent from subjective to objective. And then we have first person plural. That would be us. Second person plural would be you. And third person plural would be them. Okay, so now we have our subjective, objective, and let's move on to our possessive. Remember, possessive pronouns are the ones that show ownership. These are the ones that you guys tend to be able to identify a lot more easier, okay? So for first person, we have mine, okay? Second person, we have yours. Third person, male, we have his. Third person, female, we have hers. Third person, we have its. This would be for an animal or an object. Now we move on to the plural form. For first person, it would be ours. For second person, it would be yours. And for third person, it would be theirs. Again, the possessive pronouns are usually the ones that you are able to identify a lot more easier. But just remember, as long as you are able to identify a pronoun, that's the first step, okay? Trying to figure out whether it's subjective, objective, or possessive comes next, and that's what we're working on right now, okay? All right, so we've talked about subjective, objective, and possessive. So we're going to move on to the last two. Now, the last two are reflexive and intensive, and they share the pronouns, okay? So it's going to be the same pronoun. The only difference is how it's being used in the sentence. All right. Okay, so we have reflexive pronouns. So reflexive pronouns, it does give meaning to the sentence. It's necessary for the sentence to keep the same meaning, and it is used to reflect back on the subject. So in my example, I have, I bought myself a shirt. So the pronoun that we're using here is myself. It is reflexive because if I take out that pronoun and rewrite the sentence as I bought a shirt, it changes the meaning. In my first sentence, I'm saying I bought the shirt for myself, whereas in the second sentence, who knows who I bought the shirt for? I just know I bought a shirt. So that's how we can tell if it's a reflexive pronoun. Now, intensive pronoun. For intensive, it does not give meaning to the sentence. It's not necessary to have the same meaning, meaning it's extra. It is only used for dramatic purposes, okay? So in my example, I have the teacher herself taught class. So the pronoun that we're using in this sentence that is intensive is herself. And if I were to take it out, the teacher taught class, well, it's still happening. The meaning of the sentence has not changed. In the first sentence, I just added the herself, again, to make it more obvious who the sentence is about, which in this case is the teacher. So intensive and reflexive pronouns, they are the same list, okay? They're all the words that have self or selves at the end. So herself, himself, itself, ourself, themselves, theirselves, all of those words that end with self or selves are considered reflexive or intensive pronouns. Just depending on how it's being used will determine whether it falls under the reflexive category or the intensive category. Okay? All right, well, hopefully this video will help you answer some of those questions on your grammar for the week. If not, you can always reach out to me.